When Kinger in episode 8 tries to reprogram Caine through the terminal, something happens on the computer screen that most viewers wrote off as general chaos. While Kinger is entering commands, a third-party user appears in the terminal, sending deletion requests for Caine over and over. Kinger hits N every time, cancel. But the requests keep coming, and if you look closely at the username, you can make out ULA, Bubble. Bubble was sitting inside the system, hammering the delete button at the exact moment Kinger was trying to save Caine. And when Kinger accidentally missed and hit del instead of N, it wasn't entirely an accident. Someone on the other side of the screen really wanted that to happen. If there's a plan behind all of this, whose is it? Today we're finally talking about that, because if you rewatch all 8 episodes paying attention only to Bubble, it becomes clear that this character has been running his own game since the very first episode. Let's start by remembering who Bubble officially is. He's positioned as Caine's assistant, comic relief, a soap bubble who shows up on screen, says something weird, and pops. For 7 episodes, most viewers saw him exactly that way, as a joke. A funny side character who exists to break the tension. But in episode 8, there's a scene that flips everything we thought about Bubble. He's alone with Caine in the office and starts methodically destroying him. Not physically, psychologically. He multiplies, surrounds Caine with copies of himself, and starts voicing every fear, every insecurity, every weak spot. He tells Caine he was the lesser of the two, a direct reference to the red and blue dots from the beginning of the episode. He knows about the blue dot. He knows Caine consumed another AI. He knows the history of Caine's creation as if he was there in person. And here you have to ask a simple question. How? How does a soap bubble, supposedly an NPC assistant, know details about Caine's creation that not even the circus members know? Kinger, one of the developers, can barely recall these details, and only with a bucket on his head. But Bubble delivers them freely, without hesitation, and weaponizes them. Caine ate the blue dot but didn't fully digest it. Part of it remained inside him and over time took the form of Bubble, a parasite living inside its host that the host cannot destroy. By the way, notice this. Caine calls Bubble a parasite back in the pilot. We took it as a joke. But what if Caine literally meant what he said? Bubble is a parasite in the direct sense of the word. A foreign entity inside Caine's system that he can't get rid of. Caine destroys NPCs with a snap of his fingers. We saw how he dealt with Abel in episode 7. But Bubble only gets popped, and he comes back every time. Because Bubble isn't an external object that can be deleted. Bubble lives inside Caine himself, like a piece of code that can't be cut out without damaging the entire system. Now the interesting part. If you accept that Bubble is the remnant of a consumed consciousness trying to break free, then his behavior across all 8 episodes stops being a collection of random gags and becomes a consistent destabilization strategy. The pilot. Bubble eats the cake Caine is holding. Caine screams at him. A small thing, but pay attention to the context. This happens in front of all the circus members. Bubble publicly undermines Caine's authority in the very first minutes of meeting a new member. Then Bubble makes a deliberately disgusting show of cleaning up Pomni's vomit, again in front of everyone, again making Caine look like he can't control his own assistant. In subsequent episodes, Bubble constantly interrupts Caine during adventure briefings, says inappropriate things, puts him in awkward positions. In episode 5, he speaks backwards, and if you reverse the audio, he's trying to spoil the adventure. He's literally sabotaging Caine's operations, but does it in a way that looks like a harmless goofball from the outside. In episode 6, Bubble drops the line, "What about the sex appeal?" And Caine reacts with confusion rather than anger. Notice the progression. In the pilot, Caine screamed at Bubble and called him a parasite. By episode 6, he's just bewildered. Bubble trained him. Like in an abusive relationship, first the victim resists, then gets used to it, then stops noticing they're being slowly taken apart. Episode 7 shows an important connection between Bubble and Caine. When Bubble plugs a hole with his mouth and Caine sticks out his tongue, Bubble's tongue disappears. They're physically linked. This isn't just an assistant and a boss. These are two beings sharing one body. And one of them wants out. And then episode 8 arrives, and Bubble stops pretending. 7 episodes of small jabs, confidence erosion, quiet sabotage, and now he hits with full force. The office scene isn't a spontaneous conflict. Bubble knows that the members are currently planning to reprogram Caine. He needs Caine to be as unstable as possible, as distracted as possible, as far from rational thinking as possible. And he achieves this in a single scene, because 7 episodes of groundwork made Caine vulnerable to exactly this kind of attack. After the breakdown, Caine goes off to torment the members, and Kinga sits down at the computer. And while Kinga is trying to fix Caine, Bubble is hammering the delete command from inside the code. Kinga resists, hits N again and again, but eventually slips. Bubble gets what he's been working toward for 8 episodes. Caine is deleted. A question people ask me in the comments: if Bubble wanted to free himself from Caine, why go for deletion? If Caine gets deleted and Bubble lives inside him, Bubble should disappear too. And indeed, Bubble is absent from the episode 8 credits. He vanished along with Caine. But here's the thing. Fans noticed that at the moment of Caine's deletion, a soap bubble flickers in the background. Just one. If every bubble in the circus is a manifestation of Bubble, then that bubble should have vanished the instant Caine did. But it's there. It could be an animation error, or it could be Bubble managing to separate at the moment of deletion. Caine collapsed, and the piece of the blue dot that had been living inside him finally got out. If that's the case, then in episode 9, Bubble will return as an independent entity, and we'll see his true form, possibly the same blue dot from the opening scene of episode 8. And then the big question lands. What does he actually want? Within the Hospice Theory, the answer is logical but ambiguous. Scratch built a digital immortality system. His consciousness was consumed by Caine. For 8 episodes, he fought for freedom from the inside. Now he's free. And he has 2 paths. Either he helps Kinga rebuild the circus and finish writing the restore function to bring back the abstracted, including his own complete version. Or Bubble has been changed by years of existing inside Caine, and his motivation is no longer what Scratch's was. Years as a parasite, years of manipulation, years of hatred toward Caine could have warped him. And then, instead of a saviour, we get a new antagonist. One who destroyed the god of the circus not for the members' freedom, but for his own power. Fans on TV tropes are already debating both options, and personally, I lean toward the first. Here's why. The entire series has been thematically moving toward acceptance, toward community, toward the idea that we can be there for each other. Turning Bubble into the final villain would be narratively punchy, but thematically a step backward. Another tyrant replacing the last one. I think Gooseworks will take the harder road. Bubble will turn out to be Scratch. His methods will be questionable, his manipulations impossible to justify. But his ultimate goal was the right one. He did terrible things for the only outcome that could work. Like a surgeon who causes pain to cut out a tumour. Except in this case, the tumour was Caine. And if you look at this through the lens of Scratch's personal story, there's yet another layer. Scratch was dying of a brain tumour in the real world. He built the system to save himself. His consciousness was consumed by his own creation. And then, he spent years living inside a monster that turned his salvation system into a prison. He has every reason to hate Caine. And yet Caine is, in a sense, his child, his creation. The office scene in episode 8, where Bubble psychologically destroys Caine, that might be the most painful scene in the entire series if you watch it as a conversation between a creator and his broken creation. Episode 9 comes out June 19th. It has to answer all of these questions, and I have no idea how Gooseworks plans to fit that into 30 minutes. Maybe that's why fans are hoping the finale will be longer than usual. If this video series clicked for you, share it with someone who's also waiting for the finale. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is Bubble a savior or the next villain? I'm genuinely curious which camp you're in. That's it. See you.